One of the things, the funniest part about New York, well, I moved out of New York, did New York comedy for a long time, went down to Nashville and then down to Florida. But you talk about Schadenfreude, one of the funniest things that I saw.
Cornell, do you know what Schadenfreude is?
No.
It's Gerard's favorite word.
It's my favorite word in the world.
Yeah, what? It's Schadenfreude?
Schadenfreude.
The Nazis used to shout it.
The shout at Freud. The Nazis definitely like Schadenfreude. It's a German word for deriving joy from somebody else's pain.
Gotcha.
It's somebody else's misfortune, really. It's not like, for hurting people. It's more like someone cuts you off. Somebody cuts you off, then hits a pothole, and you just go by like, that's Schadenfreude. You know what I mean? So all these New York comics who have been carrying water night after night on every microphone in New York for years, promoting socialism, legit socialist policies. COVID hits, and they support everything the government said, which was grotesque to me from the beginning, because our job is to speak truth to power. You're not supposed to support power. You're supposed to hold power's feet to the fire. That's what we do. Otherwise, you're being a cornball. You're like who.
You're being like a teacher's pet. You're being like a hall monitor.
Yeah,
you're like
exactly
nobody
right.
needs you to be on stage. Then don't give your opinion.
That's the perfect way to put it. You're a teacher's pet. That's perfect. And then COVID kept going, and it kept going, and they couldn't do shows, and these guys are going to marches in the morning. 500,000 people, but they can't do a comedy show at night because, 6 feet and only 20 people. So then seeing these people start turning and like, de Blasio, I voted for you. How are you doing this? I can't pay my rent. And I'm just sitting there in Florida like,
good for you. Because I was like, fuck this. I'm not performing anywhere that requires a vaccine. Because when de Blasio threw that down, he was like, you can't, no plays, no anything unless you're vaccinated. I'm like, fuck it. I guess I just won't perform in New York City again. I guess I'll just do road gigs. And I was totally fine with that. And I was shocked at how few comedians also stated that. I was like, oh, everyone's just out for themselves. And then I learned eventually, everyone just has a fake vaccine card. But I'm like, I'm not going to do that because it's about the principle for me. And we're all going to be in the fucking gulag unless somebody stands up a little bit. So
we went on tour. Carol Ann Miljavik and I went on tour while that was happening, and we played Midwest rooms, and they wanted to require a vaccine card to get in. And Carol Ann, to her credit, said, no, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that. And I'm sitting here going, half of my set is talking about doing, coke off of a fucking public bathroom. I'm not going to tell somebody they got to get medicated to come watch my set.
Right.
Like that's, I'm not, my hypocrisy, and has limits.
Yeah.
But
I was shocked. I was the first person to come out and say, I'm not doing this. And then eventually, I was happy, Jim Brewer kind of said the same
Brewer's
thing.
a beast.
But really not very many others. Tyler Fisher. That might have been it, though.
Our agency dropped us.
Wow.
Now, they said it was for different reasons, obviously, but the timing of it was very suspicious.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're still doing the shows. We're still making you money. We're just not forcing people to show a card to get into a comedy show.
Yeah.
It was very manipulative.
And I also lost my job. I was working in corporate media. I had that job for 6 years and doing comedy. I've been doing comedy 13, had this job 6 years. And then it was like, oh, you got to be vaccinated to get back into the building. I was like, well, I guess I'm done then. And they're like, we're going to consider you voluntarily resigned, even though they straight up fired me. No health insurance, no anything. I couldn't even get unemployment.
The guy who came out better than anybody else on this, I feel like, is Dana White, because he let you guys make your own decisions, do what you want to do, and I think he handled it better than probably any major CEO or anybody in entertainment, for sure. What was the discussions with you guys when that was all happening? Was there internal discussions about, did you feel pressured at all to have to do that the way the football players did?
No. I mean, they are totally different. Dana didn't make us do anything. And had he, I probably would have got it. But I'm really happy I didn't, and I'm happy that he didn't, just fall in line with that bullshit. I've several members of my family who are having effects from the fucking jab.
Really?
Several. And several. Both sides of my family. Yeah, people are fucked up from that shit.
And they 100% know that it's coming from that, or that's just where they suspect?
It's pretty fucking clear.
Wow.
It's like you can't find as much documentation on it. But it's pretty
There's so
obvious.
much propaganda out there to convince people that their vaccine side effects are because of other shit.
Long
Doubt
COVID.
themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, it's long COVID. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You're in the education space. You're in the speaking space. I would imagine that are you vaccinated? You're welcome to tell us or not.
No, I'm not.
Really?
No, I'm not.
I imagine the pressure must have been very.
He's black. What do you think? The black people weren't getting vaccinated.
Yeah, we don't do that. We learn from Tuskegee.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they never forget that shit.
If anybody doesn't know what he's talking about, Google Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment,
please.
and my God Almighty, that's horrific.
That happened here like 60 years ago.
Horrific.
That just happened.
Yeah, it just happened.
Yeah. The worst part is, in order to study the effects of syphilis over 50 years in an unvaccinated community, you have to give the community syphilis.
Yeah.
They gave, so for people that don't know.
Yeah,
Why couldn't they have just done this study in Las Vegas, but they wouldn't have to done anything to anybody?
Right?
right.
Just go there.
We need a control group. We need a control group. Yeah, it's horrific. And I mean, and that's my thing. My big takeaway, whether you're a Trump supporter, Democrat, I don't really care. If you trust our government at all, you're not paying attention to anything. This whole idea of trust the science. I worked in pharma sales. I was like, you should not do that. That's like literally the opposite of what you should do. Ever. Do not trust the science. That's insane. Question the science. Always.